Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hesed Sabbath Fellowship. Thank you for joining us. We're a virtual congregation. The phone number works. We solve Revelation. We do the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, your reality, our existence. Basically, I'm like in a car with you, and you're saying, "Are we there yet, Daddy? Are we there yet?" And I say, "No, we're not there yet." And you'll say, "How long?" And I'll say, "Soon," because that's all the Bible gives us. But I will give you some good information today on solving Revelation on some issues with the seals and the trumpets and the bowls related to earthquakes. So our existence, and we're Beth Hesed Sabbath Fellowship. Thank you for joining us. So it's going to be signs of the sixth seal, earthquakes, of course, the Turkey earthquakes. And so I've been wondering why. I knew things were going to happen at some point in time, so I wanted to record Sunday night, but I knew something was pending. So, yes, something horrible was pending. Pray for Turkey, obviously, and if you can send money and prayers, please do. So, the main thing is, I was watching these signs here where on the left hand side, you've got the dry docks of the Navy out on the Puget Sound, which is out in Seattle area. And they aren't able to work on them because they conducted a seismic assessment, and the Navy said something particularly dire is coming. So I said to myself, okay, I should probably be ready for the sixth seal and talk about it. Now, we are not at the sixth seal, but we're seeing the signs of it. And the other thing is we had the comet blow by here just the other day here in February of 2023. And, so will that release debris that would hit us, comet tail pieces, so to speak, figs, we could call them. That would be biblical. So the main thing is I said something's going to happen because here's the verses that I'll cite. And this is from Haggai 2:5-7. This is in keeping with the word that I promised you in a covenant with you when you came out of Egypt, and my spirit remains with you. So don't be afraid. For this is what Adonai Tezvaot says: it won't be long before one time when I shake the heavens and the earth, the sea and the dry land, and I will shake all the nations, so that the treasures of all the nations will flow in, and I will fill this house with glory. Now that already occurred in part because Haggai is talking about the first temple and then the second temple. But then in Hebrews, they cite it again. And I have some friends that just don't like Hebrews because when you really look at it deeply, some of the things are a little bit backwards in terms of the citation of where the brazen altar is and the golden altar. So just weird stuff, but I love Hebrews. And so I'm going to cite it here. See now that you don't reject the one speaking. For if those did not escape who rejected him when he gave divine warning on earth, think of how much less we will escape if we turn away from him when he warns from heaven. Even then his voice shook the earth. But now he has made this promise, and he's going back and citing Haggai again, 5-7. One more time, I will shake not only the earth, but heaven too. So that means it's future, guys. And this phrase, one more time, makes clear that the things shaken are removed, since they are created things, so that things not shaken may remain. Therefore, since we have received an unshakable kingdom, let us have grace through which we may offer service that will please God with reverence and fear, for indeed our God is a consuming fire. That's what's coming. That's what is going to be expected, because Hebrews was written just before the second temple failed or fell. And so they were looking forward to something in the future when Yeshua returns. So that's Hebrews 12:25-29. So then it hit. And it hit big. And so that during the middle of the night, Sunday night, when I wasn't recording, the map of the earthquakes that hit. And so we want to correspond this with Zechariah 14. On that day, his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, which lies to the east of Jerusalem, and the Mount of Olives will be split in half from east to west to make a huge valley. Yes, that will happen at some point in time, and earthquakes will happen. I'll give you a lot of earthquake verses today, obviously. But Turkey was hit by three earthquakes, basically. They're citing 3,400 dead. Really, our numbers right now seem to be 380,000 with no roof. 6,000 seem to be dead. 20,000 probably will be dead by the end. 45,000 are missing. 8.5 thousand collapsed buildings. That's what's going on right now. And so there are more signs. We know this is going to happen during the end times, and so we need to be ready for it. So but it doesn't help the poor people in Turkey, and it's hard to watch the scenes of these little children being dragged out of the building, but at least those kids are alive. This is going to happen to many of us. So get ready for the sixth seal, even though we're not yet there. Okay, so keep that in mind. I'm telling you, this is future, and we're seeing the signs of it, and it's going to get much worse. But we'll give you all the signs today, most of the signs. But keep in mind, this is future. This is the philosophy of what's going to occur and when it seems to be occurring, but we're only bouncing through the birth pangs, third, fourth seal, those areas right now. So you can expect increased space weather energy, and so you'll see airline issues, grid issues, cellular disruption, GPS disruption, radio wave disturbances. You're going to see all sorts of these things happening. It's going to be interesting to watch these things happen as we move forward. So just be aware of that. If you're flying, if you're trying to get a suntan down in South America, it's probably not a good idea to get a suntan in South America right now, or Australia, especially in South America, because of the hole in the ozone layer is letting through more UV. So just keep that in mind. So what's going to happen? You'll probably see a magnetic reversal. You'll probably see more space weather. I'm saying, based on the Bible, increased radiation risks, increased earthquakes, mental instability, cosmic food chain disruptions, cosmic electrical and tech disruptions, water evaporation or water movement where you want it to be here, but now suddenly it's there, because water always flows to the lowest point. Increased space debris penetration, animal migration confusion, unsafe air travels, and the wealthy are going to hide above and below. So just start watching for things to occur above our heads and below our feet, because the magnetic current is going to act like a sheet coming at us and bringing in an electrical change, and that's going to cause weird things above our heads and down below our feet. Get used to it. Now, even regular scientists are noting this, that the magnetic field may change faster than we thought. This can happen quickly. Now, they're predicting more like 2040, 2050, but it could happen faster than that. So space weather events tend to be more prevalent in regions where magnetic field is weak, and the weak is really bad. It's really bad down in the South Atlantic anomaly. So another rapid change in the magnetic field is on its way. Yes, absolutely. But we don't know how soon it will really affect us. But we'll see the gradual things occurring. This is also from regular scientists, Horizon EU research. The magnetic poles could start to flip. What happens then? You'll see radiation risks, again, food chain disruptions, electrical and tech disruptions, water evaporation. You'll see the rays coming through. And so it will move the liquid iron core around, and you'll notice that. And so they're claiming the reversal was last at 772,000 years ago. No, things have happened since then. So it's about every 6,000 years, every 12,000 years, definitely every 12,000 years. So just get ready for it, because it's about due. Okay, it's going to cause other things like the Krakatau eruption from 1883 is similar to the Tonga eruption. And so when the scientists tell you it could warm Earth, no, it cools Earth. So there's two different articles, one from Live Science and one from Natural History Museum. And so I want to show you that it's cooling the Earth, because when you throw debris up into the sky, it cools things down. And so Tonga could be horrific. Just be aware of that, and there will be more of those. Etna could blow, well, it has been, and there will be more. As the core moves, you'll see more of this, and it's biblical. Sixth seal again, windows above heaven have been opened, yes. So basically there's the anomaly down below, and I'm showing you the picture of it. That's just off South America, and NASA is citing this from 2020, but we'll give you the verses that match. Ready? So this is Isaiah 24, 17 through 21. Terror, pit, and trap are upon you, you who are living on the earth. He who flees at the sound of terror will fall into the pit. He who climbs up out of the pit will be caught in the trap. For the windows, the magnetosphere, above have been opened. The earth's foundations shake. There's your earthquakes. The earth cracks and breaks open. The earth crumbles into pieces. Earth trembles and totters. The earth staggers to and fro like a drunk, sways back and forth like a watchman's shelter. Its transgression, that is a pasha sin. That is a willful sin. It's actually a rebellious sin. There is no forgiveness for that unless you truly repent. Its transgression weighs heavy upon it. It will fall and not rise again. When that day comes, Adonai will punish the armies. This is weird. The armies of Hamarom Bamarom. So that means there's another area. It's not really the heaven. It's not Shemaim in the Hebrew. Okay, and the kings of the earth here on the earth. So there's going to be two different punishments going on. I'm believing that the armies of heaven of the Marom are the fallen angels. He'll punish them in addition to the kings that are just wicked. Okay, now we're going to give you what we're heading for. We're not here yet, people. Okay, but this is going to happen maybe in years, months, centuries. I don't know, but it's going to happen. The sixth seal will happen. Then I watched as he broke the sixth seal, and there was a great earthquake, and the sun turned black as sackcloth worn in mourning, and the full moon became blood red. And so that means that you're going to notice this sign, especially on a full moon. Okay. The stars fell from heaven to earth just as a fig tree drops its figs. So they're going to start out smaller. The stuff that hits your head is going to be fig-like in size. When shaken by a strong wind, the sky receded like a scroll. You've heard that before from Isaiah 24. Being rolled up, every mountain and island was moved from its place, and the earth's kings, the rulers, the generals, the rich, the mighty, the wealthy people, the big tech people, indeed everyone, slave and free, hid himself in caves among the rocks and the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of the one sitting on the throne, and from the fury of the Lamb. For the great day of their fury, that's orge in the Greek, just so you know, has come, and who can stand? That's Revelation 6:12 through 17. That is future for us, guys. We're seeing the signs of it now, but it's still future. And it could be months away or years away. Don't know. Okay, once again, the wealthy are going to go up and down. They're going to go into their nuclear-powered sky hotel. This is Bazinga reporting this. Or they're going to jet up via SpaceX and sit up there and wait for things to occur. The problem is, we proved this in 2022. Elon launched like 40 satellites up, and 38 fell down. Why? Because the sun is always kicking out solar energy, and if it kicks out the right amount, a huge amount, it'll take all that stuff out, especially the near-Earth stuff. So it's basically, if God says you want to try to escape Earth's atmosphere, it's like shooting wealthy fish in tin can barrels. So don't do that. You can run to a cave real quick, but remember, you're here for a purpose. God birthed you for this for a reason. So stick with it. Okay. Continuing on, if you read Revelation 6:12 through 15:17, and then all of 8, you'll notice a pattern of the meteorites, whatever the space debris is, growing from figs to larger rocks to mountain-sized rocks. And if the galactic sheet is bringing dust, the dust will increase in size over time. It seems like that's the case. So this is USGS, okay, pretty good source. Why are we having so many earthquakes? Has naturally occurring earthquake activity been increasing? Does this mean the big one is going to hit? Or we haven't had any earthquakes in a long time. Does that mean the pressure is building up for a big one? So you really have to study that. And so I'm saying it's biblical, people. You will see the pressure build up. You will see the earthquakes increase. This is biblical. And I'll give you the biblical reasons as a couple of more slides from here. So basically, this is Israel 365 News. As massive earthquake hits the Middle East, what does biblical tradition teach us about it? So this is from my friend Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz. And so he would say God uses the forces of nature to judge us. Okay, so in the end of days, earthquakes are prophesied to accompany the end of days. Earthquakes and volcanoes are explicitly mentioned by the prophets as playing a role in the end of days, preparing the world for burning away impurities, as a crucible is used in metallurgy to purify metal. But Hashem God is the true God. He is the living God and the everlasting King. At his wrath, the earth trembles. The nations are not able to abide his indignation. That's Jeremiah 10:10. And Ezekiel talked about it with the upcoming war of Gog Magog. That's years from now, guys. Years from now. It's at the end. So the mountains shall be overthrown, cliffs shall topple, and every wall shall crumble to the ground. So we've got the pre-Magog shakeup, but really God uses the forces of nature to get these things done. So, and God notices earthquakes. Amos 1:1 is about 2 years before the earthquake. So keep that in mind. More from Adam, and I like this. This is very interesting. as you see the earthquakes hitting, you're seeing Muslim structures on the Temple Mount falling down. So it seems strange that the remains of the temple in Lebanon were shaken yesterday in an earthquake, and its twin structure in Jerusalem begins falling apart today. So this is Rabbi Moskoff. Very interesting. So basically, Rabbi Itzhak Batzri, he's a Kabbalist. Sorry, that just means he receives information from God. So he studies esoteric literature. The Geula, that's the redemption. That's the end. That's when the Messiah arrives. It's very simple. Before you build a new house, you need to clear away anything that stands in the way. And so the current era fulfills many of the requirements for the end of days. Anyone who walks around Jerusalem can see the children are playing, the old people enjoying the city, referring to the prophecy in Zechariah 8:2. God has taken the next step. But then he cited from Haggai again. It is time for you who dwell in your paneled, your beautiful houses, while this house is lying in ruins. So that's Haggai 1:4. So the Jews have neglected their duties that are due to the landlord, which is God. So I agree with that rabbi. So once again, he's citing that the Temple Mount is shaking and this Baalbek in Lebanon is shaking, and so that before the Dome of the Rock, a temple on the pagan god Jupiter was built on the site of the Jewish temple on the Temple Mount there. And so around 130 Common Era, and so the architect, this Tavua Segiv, he studied the Temple Mount extensively, and he noticed that the Temple of Jupiter was there, and you can see the footings for it and things like that. Nothing remains of it other than the footings, and so they can tell kind of where it was. And then it stood until the time of Hadrian's later successor, Constantine, in 325 CE. So just interesting that you've got those things shaking and falling. Okay, and God will shake the pagan deities. That's his promise. You can count on it. Okay, now we're going to go towards Ben Davidson and show you what's happening outside of our Earth. Okay, so our magnetic field has been weakened 10% since the 19th century. It's probably now 25% lost. So that's the magnetosphere, that's your ozone layer basically, and it's weakening 10 times faster now. And that's from 2014, so it was just brutal. So over the last 150 years, the magnetic field has lost about 15% of its strength. Well, it's probably 25%. So it could flip. The magnetic poles could flip. Two things so basically, here it is. You'll expect more lightning, and you'll have to have a bug out event at some point in time. You'll probably want to have a cave to run to. Earth's magnetic field has begun an accelerated rapid shift, and airplane travel or planes will start falling out of the sky at some point in time. They'll be knocked out of the sky. And so you could get burns in your eyes. You could literally get photokeratitis burns in your eyes from the extra UV. So just be prepared for that. We are polluting less, but the ozone layer is depleting faster. And so this is going to get worse. Basically, these magnetic excursions like the one we're entering now take out species. Not all species, but some species. So just get used to it. And so it's going to be more charged, and the magnetic field should lose. Well, anyway, we'll talk about that in the next slide. So basically, the magnetic field is weakening. The ionosphere is disrupted. There will be extreme weather. You will see plasma penetrations. You'll see a volcanic surge, an ocean shutdown. You'll see animal migration issues. You'll see people go crazy. And you're going to see crazy people doing crazy things. And that's what's next. So the mantle is moving. We expect a micronova at some point in time. I don't know when. Ben is saying about 2040. He's citing three things that, once again, so the ionosphere should display a signal. You should see it in the sky, okay? Ozone depletion over the tropics, no doubt about that, and then record lightning. And more extreme weather, faster rotation speed, he's noticing that already. You'll see the slosh back. That means that as the poles move, the waters move, and then they slosh back. And so when it goes forward, it's bad. When it goes back, it's even worse. The slosh back is the bad thing. So if you're on a coastline, when these things start hitting, you're going to get sloshed, and it's going to be ugly. And then what cycle are we in right now? We're really going into a maximum, then we'll go into the minimum. And you can see the minimum more after 2026. So, and we're right on schedule for this. So just be aware of that. We are not in the minimum yet. So when you listen to people saying that, they're wrong. Ben is better at this. We talked about animal migration confusion. So this is a recent article. This should be 16 hours ago. It's February, mid-February of 2022. And so birds can detect Earth's magnetic field. Magnetically sensitive bills showed that they were really detecting iron-rich, inside their bodies, they have iron-rich white blood cells that detect magnetic changes. And so they can tell latitudes, longitudes, and things like that. They can feel the Earth's magnetic field. If you introduce a magnetic coil, the compass becomes reality, as does GPS for navigation. So basically, the magnetic coil is going to change. And so the birds are going to be confused. When the magnetic fields are disturbed, which begets the latest research, it can come from heightened solar activity, like solar flares, sunspots, as well as other reasons, and send those birds distorted information. They will become disoriented. Surprisingly, the most vagrancy does not occur with heightened solar activity. So we don't know if it's RFI, radio frequency. I don't think that's it, but it makes the magnoreceptors within the birds unusable, and the birds are greatly affected by solar activity. So more affected in some species due to higher incidences of solar disturbance. So we're not sure what's happening with whales and dolphins or anything like that. Birds are easier to track, obviously. Animals under the sea we don't track as well. But basically, they're saying that you should expect more confusion because the magnetic field affects the birds. Okay, now this is weird. So the earthquakes, let's put them in a place like Genesis 2:14. Okay. By the way, one more time, we're not at the sixth bowl yet, not even the sixth trumpet yet. We're not even to the sixth seal. We're just watching earthquakes start to occur more often. So basically, you'll see that between the Tigris and the Euphrates, from Genesis 2:14, you'll see a bunch of earthquakes, and you'll also see those plates that are related to those areas. And once again, the earthquakes right there. And so the name of the third river is the Tigris, which is the one that flows towards the east, towards Ashur. And the fourth river is the Euphrates. And that seems to be between those two rivers where the earthquakes are happening right now. I think it's a sign from God. Okay. I don't know what the sign is, but I know it's a sign from God. So the catastrophe hit an already fragile region, which has been marred by decades of civil war in Syria, economic, humanitarian, and public health crises. Turkey is facing a profound economic crisis with a collapsing currency and extraordinary inflation that hit around 80% this year. That's 80% inflation. Think about it. And so 70% of people polled in Turkey have trouble affording food, and we just had earthquakes added to it. Turkey seems to be the Magog area. So if you're looking for Gog, he's a human being, and he's going to use Turkey to his advantage. He comes from the north. So just keep in mind, there is something interesting about this. And also, the Euphrates is drying and fits into Bible prophecy. So these earthquakes may dry out the Euphrates even faster. But once again, we're not at the sixth bowl or the sixth seal, but we're starting to see signs of it. So it's drying up on schedule. It should be ready in a few years. The sixth one poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates. That's towards the end of the Bible, just before Gog Magog. And its water dried up in order to prepare the way for the kings from the east. And I saw three unclean spirits that seemed like frogs, and they came up from the mouth of the dragon, the mouth of the beast, and the mouth of the false prophet. And so that's Revelation 16:12. We're not there yet, but we're seeing the signs of it. And to have this earthquake series occur between the Tigris and Euphrates is very interesting. We are not even up to this, which is the sixth trumpet. And so the sixth angel sounded the shofar and heard a voice from the four horns of the gold altar before God, saying to the sixth angel, the one with the shofar, released the four angels that are bound at the great river Euphrates, and they were released. These four angels had been kept ready for this moment, for this day and month and year, to kill a third of mankind. Doesn't happen at that moment. It happens during the sixth bowl, and the number of the cavalry soldiers was 200 million. I remember the number. Revelation 9:13 through 16. We're not there yet, but we're seeing the signs of it, guys, and we're seeing this earthquake during that in that same region. And they're saying that certain signs are occurring as the Euphrates dries up, and you're seeing weird I don't know. They're claiming this is signs of the dead coming up from Sheol, from Hades, we'll call it, from the grave. Interesting signs, and they're citing Revelation 9:14 with this picture. That isn't the case. They're hearing voices and things like that. I don't think that's the case. Or they're saying this is the four horsemen coming up. I don't think so. But it's interesting to see these carvings pop up as the Euphrates dries up. So what are we expecting going forward? It's a terrible time for pregnant women, nursing mothers, for there will be great distress in the land and judgment on the people. Some will fall by the edge of the sword. Others will be carried into the countries of the Gentiles, and Jerusalem will be trampled down by the Gentiles until the age of the Gentiles has run its course. There will appear signs in the sun, moon, and stars, and on the earth, and nations will be in anxiety and bewilderment at the sound and surge of the sea, as people faint with fear at the prospect of what is overtaking the world. For the powers of the heaven will be shaken. That's Luke 21:23-26. What I'm saying is that some things have already happened. The ethnic wars of the first seal, the increased crime, things like that, just people having problems in Western society, that's already happening. Okay, the national wars, that started in about 2001 with George Bush and all those warmongers, Cheney too. And so I think that seal number 1 opened in 1967 when they handed back the Temple Mount. Number 3, we're in it right now. It opened in 2012. Food scarcity, economic upheaval, Arab Spring, things like that. Increased plagues in the 4th seal. There are 4 plagues. Increased deaths, that's the 4th seal. Then increased false prophets and increased persecution of believers. And you'll see that more as we move forward. And then there's the earthquakes, and then there's the cosmic storms. We're not up to it yet. We still have lots of things to occur, and yeah, mental health issues and crazy people, wealthy people trying to dig down underneath the earth. Not a safe place to be. Not safe. So where are we? We're in the birth pangs. Seal 3, Seal 4, that range. We're not in Seal 6. We're not in the 6th trumpet. We're not in the 6th bowl. Those will be years away. So just get ready for it. And keep in mind, there's lots of verses on the earthquakes, but you should expect exponential increases in earthquakes, plus increasing space dust and debris passing through a severely weakened magnetosphere. Expect more cosmic phenomenon, including solar outbursts, culminating in a solar micronova during the Gog-Magog War. And the earthquakes, up above, all those verses and things like that, all those citations, just signs of it as we lead forward, and they'll get bigger. So you should see a solar uptick in March of 2023. They happen about every 5.9 months. And so you should see the signs in later February. This is from Ben Davidson again. Upticks are more significant multi-week. We're eyeing March, 2023. So yeah, we'll see it. And that's leading into Passover. So you'll see Passover, or Passover is April 5th, but really Nisan begins in mid-March. So just be aware of that as we head forward. So once again, you'll see the solar uptick, and this is from my friends at Deborah's Date Tree saying you need to be aware of different scenarios for when the new moon occurs, probably March 22nd or maybe March 23rd. We'll see. We'll just observe it and watch it, and you'll probably see some signs in the sun, moon, stars too. So what you're preparing for right now is a wedding. You're not preparing for an earthquake. You're preparing to have clean garments for this wedding. So keep that in mind. It's a wedding, people. That means repentance, and that means faith. That's how you get through this wedding. So be blessed. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening.